New rods and rod ends were required because these were also heavily damaged and in some cases pulled in half. The brass on the end of the rod is a very complicated piece that involves moving wedges to adjust for bearing take-up. 2 of those had to be made new. Again, thank you, Bill Hazard.
They're very complicated components of the machine.
These are the dash pots on the right. They were broken. We opted to have them repaired rather than replaced because of their size. Would have had very high costs at making these pieces new. So we had a local welding company braze them back together. Brazing cast iron is not easy. We had Bill Hazard machine drew them, and then we had Steve Leatherman cylindrically surface grind them.
You can see them there right after they came back from Bill having cleaned up the brazing. You can see where the braze line was. No 2 pot cracked in the same location. They were all slightly different. After that was them being properly trued by a CNC lathe to make them exactly perfect. That was right before reinstallation.
Yes. The oil system was the victim of the elusive engine house gorilla, as we called it, because every thin pipe and strut was just bent into a very interesting shape for reasons we can't figure out. So that involved a lot of straightening. I took these home. I took a lot of things home to repair them and then brought them back once that had been finished. And then reinstalled them with the help of quite a lot of people. This is then reinstalled after having been straightened and cleaned, and there were about 30 of these, so it was quite a job.
For anyone who's unfamiliar with how these work, oil is fed in through the top. Telescoping arms that reach down to pivot points, essentially eccentrics. They rock like this, and the 2 pipes that you can see, specifically these 2, slide in and out of each other. And since they're not pressurized, they don't have to maintain a perfect seal. It's just a passageway for oil to flow down into the eccentric.
It's how you continuously maintain or oil a moving part without destroying oil cans.
So these are the dash pots being reinstalled to make sure that we did not have repeat performance. They did not freeze up at the time that we had to go back to our normal lives. We slathered everything in the dash pot bores in heavy red grease to keep them nice and free.
We enlisted the services of the local chapter of the Youth Corps because this project, of course, just us 2, was very hard to manage with 2 or 3 people. So we wanted to make it a community project. They helped us, and in turn, these kids learned a lot about mechanical engineering.
We've always both believed that a project like this should as much be a community project, and this was definitely an outgrowth of that.
And then a very interesting thing happened. About the time we finished work, a truck showed up on premises, and inside that truck was a steam boiler.
I wonder how that happened.
A local boiler company, we approached them about the project because we needed a steam source. And when the owner of that company came in and saw what was inside this building, he said, "That is the neatest thing I've ever seen." He donated his time, a boiler, a truck, and fuel oil to get us steam. And then this happened.
It was just a simple matter of connecting a couple of 2-inch steam hoses into the pipe work we'd already assembled. Open a few valves, next thing you know, the engine is slowly coming back to life.
It took 3 hours to warm up, as it usually will. One of these engines has to be hot before you even try to move it.
You can see in both these photos, it looks like the entire building is just filling up with steam. That's simply because we were running the jacketing system open to make sure everything was right, so it was venting to atmosphere the whole time. Normal operation, you'll see photos of it later, it doesn't look like that. Here's a few more photos of us getting it under steam. On the right, you can see Alex fiddling with the jacketing apparatus. Having not been used in quite a few years, it was being a little temperamental, so just a little bit tweaking, and it was keeping all cylinders nice and warm. And anything like this, of course, you have to get it up to temperature first, the jacketing, before you even start it. You have to use that.
A jacket is essentially a steam radiator that wraps around each cylinder, the pressure of which is automatically regulated by all that complex pressure reducing and steam trap network that you can see in front of me. There were a lot of broken pipes, a lot of steam traps and reducing valves that did not function correctly, so we were repairing this while it was in steam because the best way to test apparatus is to actually operate it. We would take something off, fix it, put it back on. It was a lot of work. We had the engine in steam for 3 days straight.
Here you can see, finally, after quite a lot of waiting around and a little bit of tense moments, the gate was climbing up to about 100 pounds. We opened the throttle valve, And well, actually did half of that first, but then started running correctly. And you can see on the photo on the left there, that's the low pressure crank spinning around and down example. A few more photos here, both of the flywheels spinning. So at this point, this is still the longest stationary steam engine that is operable in the entire United States, actually the entire North and South America. The only bigger engines are in Europe, I believe Australia. So that's another photo, at least I guess the oil is on it.
We bent a few wrenches on this project.
Yes. I wasn't quite sure when to put this in the slideshow, but we have to show it to you anyways. Wonderful little flat job.
We were mentioned in Old Glory magazine in England.
This is a notable publication in the UK, specifically around antique steam engines, traction engines, railway equipment. And we actually hilariously managed to catch more attention in Europe than we did here. And we were featured very prominently in their publications. In fact, there was stories going around that members of societies such as Kempton were popping champagne corks for us the moment the news got over there that we made this run.
So, do you have a video you want to show them briefly, or?
So I can do that.
The first, yeah.